Aha! Huzzah and welcome, brave adventurers. If we did this right, you are currently watching a digital eclipse stream of Wizardry, Proving Grounds of the Mad Overlord, which is in the process of rolling out globally. I can't believe we actually get to say that. My name's Dan Amrich. I'm just one of the content editors here, but I've been working closely with the Wizardry team, two members of which are here. Ian Sherman, if you watch our weekend streams, you will probably recognize both Ian Sherman and Justin Arquet. They are lead programmer, right? Or lead engineer? Senior engineer, something. Yeah. Engineering and animation, basically, that's what you want to know. And yeah, we're thrilled to be here today because tomorrow in North America, and actually worldwide, this should be available on all of the platforms it's intended to be on. It's been in early access on PC since the middle of September of last year, and we've been slowly improving it with feedback from players, feedback from gamers, and just good ideas that we had along the way that we thought, oh, hey, wait, we should do this, or more accurately, we should fix this. So we're happy to say that we announced a couple of weeks back that Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, Xbox Series S also getting in on the fun, and tomorrow comes out for all of those things. PC will be upgraded to 1.0, so your existing saves will work, right?
Yes.
Yes. So if you have been with us on the early access journey, thank you for being with us. And you can continue your game just where you left off. It'll just be a patch tomorrow for you guys. For everybody else, we hope that you enjoy it, and we'll give you a little preview of what it is. This is the 1.0 version. Actually, it says 1.0.1. What went wrong with the 0.1, Ian?
Oh gosh, I'm not even sure if I remember. Probably some dumb last-minute text fix we needed to make to legal lines or something like that. It's unimportant to tell our audience what actually the difference
There have been so many little legal lines. Some folks may know that Wizardry, this particular version of Wizardry, the original Wizardry game, has been mired in legal, like different people own different parts of it. So it took a bit of a Herculean effort to get all those parties to the table and agree that this was worth doing in a fresh new way that makes it more accessible to modern players, but still respects the history. And basically, I think what you're going to see today over the next hour, you can ask questions, we'll answer anything that we can. But we're going to show you what the gameplay is like, talk about what it used to be, talk about what we've improved and changed and enhanced, and also probably wipe the party that I have been working on for some time. So, Ian, go ahead and drive. Let's start. You want to start a new game?
Sure.
Okay. Kill my pre-massacre because...
I'm going to kill the last pre-massacre.
Okay. That's fine.
New game is what I want.
Yes.
All right. Are you sure you want to overwrite this save slot? Yes, I do. And this is Digital Eclipse. Eclipser. Eclipse.
So, yeah, the very first thing, this is something that was not in the original game, but Wizardry has multiple versions on multiple platforms. There was a PC version, there was an Apple version, there were console versions, and the console versions had different content.
Right. So, one of the things that we did in our approach is, our game is built upon the original 1981 Pascal source code.
The graphics were very rudimentary in 1941.
Really. So it's in essence like a port of that game. That's where we started, and then we built an Unreal Editor version on top of that has modern graphics. And we spent a lot of time softening some of the rough edges, making it more accessible to modern audiences, But as Digital Eclipse, we consider ourselves like preservationists and historians, so we made sure that whenever we departed in any significant way from the original experience, we allowed it to be an option that you could choose. So this is the first thing you experience when you create a new game in Wizardry. It says, well, do you want to play with the original levels, or do you want to play with the more modern levels? We're going to pick the defaults here because it actually gets into the game really fast. That's one of the ways that we wanted to sort of ease you into the experience. So I'm going to go ahead and pick the original here. And this is going to refer to this again to say, do you want to play with the new options or configure the options? I'm going to just pick play with the new options.
Do you want to show off?
Yeah, we'll pause a moment after, and I'll show off some of the options. So I'm going to pick play with the new options, and we're also going to let you, one of the things we added is we allow you to start with a pre-generated party of level 2 characters. So if you just want to jump into the dungeon and start killing monsters and trying to recover the amulet,
or getting
killed by monsters, we let you do that rather than go through the entire party creation, which you can still do if that's what you want to do.
Sure.
Which would generate a bunch of level 1 characters that you might then have to grind up a little bit. So this is sort of just give you a little leg up. So I will begin with a starter party this
Our
time.
first question was a joke that we made right before we went on, which is Xantamun wants to know, will we see the dev letter, or is that for buyers only?
Yeah, we were joking about, like we were going to do the whole stream, we're just going to read the dev letter and show the credits and then say goodbye.
And say, enjoy the game when you play it. Yeah.
Yes. So we've added some sort of tutorialization to help you get into the game if you don't know what you're doing in Wizardry. The original game had very little of that. The extent that it did have it, it appeared in the manual. So we've moved a lot of that information in-game. The stuff in the manual for the original game also was not always accurate, so we made sure to present accurate information for everybody. So as promised, I'm going to just briefly pause here and pull up what we call our old school options. And these are ways to season your Wizardry experience to taste. Now I picked...
I like that analogy.
That's good.
I picked the modern options, the select them all at the beginning, but some of the things we changed that you can turn on and off are, for example, like this first option here, starting attribute points. When I create a character, do you want to roll over and over using the original math to try to generate your character? Or we'll just give you like a middling number and you can just go with that. That's how the modern game works. Same with leveling up. In the original version, as you leveled up, your attributes would change randomly. Sometimes they would go up and sometimes they would go down. Our modern version has like a smaller number of attribute points that you can assign, and this just goes on. We have, I think, 20 odd, maybe 18, whoops, turned some stuff off accidentally there, old school options. I'll discard the changes just in case.
Yeah.
So like if you want the original, like very challenging 1941, if you ask me, 1981 experience, it's here. It's presented in its entirety, but we also have a modern presentation for you to experience the game that's a little bit friendlier to newer audiences. Yes. So because I picked all the options, I don't have to gear up my party or make any characters or anything, so I'm just going to jump right into the maze and we can start to see what this game looks like.
It should be noted that when you started a party in the original game, even if you went through and you could roll and re-roll, and classic players of this game are like, I'll sit there and I'll re-roll until I get the ultimate
power move.
The power move. I want maximum stats so that I can do everything. But even then, when you would get set amount of gold, and you would go and you would buy gear, it would not even auto-equip the gear. Like, there's a lot of things that you take for granted that Wizardry kind of came up with those concepts, but didn't have it refined yet because they were the first. They were one of the first. So, now we automatically once you bought a sword, obviously you want to equip the sword. Yeah. That is the kind of like modern perk that you might see.
Yeah.
So I'm going to kick down this door in a moment, but before I do, I sort of sped through two sort of informational pop-ups there, but I'm going to talk about two elements of the screen. One is what the attention was called to in the lower left portion of the screen. You can see as I'm moving around, there's what we call the ambient map. And it is a mini-map of your immediate environment, but it isn't necessarily perfectly accurate. It's drawn based on the way you're perceiving the dungeon, and for people who know Wizardry, there's some tricks and traps that might try to confuse you, and they also are going to confuse your ambient map. So that's going to maybe show you some inaccurate information. Of course, there is a mapping spell you can cast in Wizardry, and if you cast that spell, it will fix up your ambient map and show you some corrected information. The other thing I'm going to show is in the lower right, we actually have the original Apple II graphics rendering. And this was one of the first things we got working in this game because, like I said, it was originally a port of the Apple II version. So this was, in the beginning, it was just this. It was all control or keyboard driven, and this is what you saw. And we kept it up mostly during development for testing purposes, just to make sure we weren't breaking anything as we were, changing things in this game. But everybody we showed this to said, "That's really cool. I can't believe you guys kept that in." Yeah. So we kept it in.
Yeah.
All right,
and you can essentially play through the entire dungeon aspect of the portions of the game with that up.
You could, yeah. I'm going to kick down this door and hopefully we'll get into an encounter. All right, Wizardry encounters.
Let's not die.
So Wizardry's a turn-based RPG, dungeon crawler, first person. They call that a blobber because you represent a party of characters rather than a single character moving through this dungeon. And one of the things, you got a surprise round. One of the things that the original game did was it had this enemy identification system with a very basic trapping zone. So when you encounter an enemy, you didn't exactly know what it was, and then every round you rolled to see if your characters would determine what enemy you were fighting. So we actually expanded that a little bit. So in Wizardry, usually your front row can only fight. I'm going to have my front row fight these characters, and your back row can only parry. That's what this dialogue is. I'm summarizing what it says. But we added this new feature to actually inspect enemies, and I'm going to have my back row do that. And what an inspect enemy will do is it will actually identify an enemy that is not identified. If you're successful, it is also still a roll. It uses very similar math to the original roll. But we have certain degrees of knowledge that you can ascertain about the enemies, and then you can pull that information up in combat if you're interested in seeing what's going on with the enemy's stat blocks, for example.
And they're like
I haven't learned
levels of
anything
that,
new
right?
about it, but because I've encountered the kobolds, it's going to show me the size of the group and the XP they're worth. And you can turn this on and off in combat. I usually pull it up if I need to know something. Actually, this is kind of a risk encounter.
You know
so
everything,
I'm going to. Well, I know everything, but not everybody knows everything. I'm going to have my priest dispel the undead, but I'm going to keep inspecting these enemies here.
Bam.
And that feeds into our new bestiary, where you can pull this information up about the enemies outside of combat pretty much at any time, and look at some of the art we've added. But it also has.
So you just identified
See,
the
I got
second
some
level.
better identification on these enemies. So now I
Right.
know that
Now
they
we know
are
that they're
undead
undead.
class. I know that their armor is 10, and I know that their hit points, dice rolls, and the number of attacks they have. And the last row might fill in. If I
Yeah,
continue to
there's
inspect
a third level that you have not discovered yet, which is their resistances and special traits and stuff like that. So as you continue to try, deduced.
Yep.
Somebody did
Hey,
deduce.
we got, wow, that is
So-
unlikely that I would have gotten that off in the first combat.
Yeah, I appreciate
So
you doing that
awesome
for the
us.
demo. That was great.
So one of our philosophies was, we were digging through the code of Wizardry, and there's all this really crunchy math that is not very much exposed to the player. And I found it fascinating. I regularly shared with them, look at how the attacks are calculated.
It's
And
numbers.
some people played along, but some people were really excited about it too. But we realized that sort of information is sort of vital to the player to aid you in making good decisions in your actions in Wizardry, and was previously pretty opaque. One of the jokes I made in an interview with Dan not long ago is if you were playing the original Wizardry, what's the difference between a dagger and a short sword? I don't know, one's more expensive. That's literally all the information you got on it. So we exposed a lot of that information so you can make more informed decisions and play more strategic. Here's an example of this. I just encountered a chest. So I'm going to have a little vignette here. We also added some little character vignettes to sort of add some flavor. But it's going to show that I can now choose to inspect the chest, but it's going to show my character's likelihood of succeeding at inspecting the chest. And that wasn't something that was presented to the player before. So it used to be I know thieves are good at inspecting, so my thief's going to inspect.
Or you
but I
just
don't know
assume.
how good they
Exactly.
are.
You don't
right?
know how much
So
better.
we now know that
Right.
my thief has a 95% chance of guessing right that this chest is a stunner, which we hope they're going to disarm now, which
Yes.
they only have a 73% chance of doing. Let's see if that works. So in the original Wizardry, when you disarmed a trap or cast a spell or whatever, you actually typed in the full name of the spell or the trap. We've, of course, simplified that. Now you can pick it from a list. And we initially filtered the list, example, for disarming the traps to just the traps that you've identified. So we've identified a stunner. I can pick a stunner. I can also press a button and pick from the full list to pick any chest if I wanted to. But I do think it's a stunner, so we're going to pick the stunner. And we successfully disarmed it, and we got a sword, and that's great. So I'm going to go into camp here really quick. We'll show you what our camp UI looks like. So you can view your characters and their items and their spells. And one of my characters here got an unidentified sword. Actually, it was my bishop. So I'm going to have the bishop identify the sword. And it used to be when you had a bishop identify a sword, it would roll and you probably wouldn't identify the sword and you had a small chance of accidentally equipping the sword, but you would just do it again until you succeeded. So we just made that a one button thing. So you identify, and it's going to do the same roll under the hood, but it's going to do it until
But it's
you
going to do it
succeed.
super
It's not
fast
gonna
so that
make
you
you
don't
do
have
it
to
over
wait.
and over and over.
Cool.
And that's the kind of changes we've been adding to this game.
And I forgot, are you able to equip the sword down here, or do you have to return to town? I can't remember how old school this game was in that sense.
I can equip the sword, but it's a short sword, so I already
know if it's
have better gear on. The only person that might be interested in that is maybe the thief. I'm actually going to change the order of my party here. Hang on a second, because in the beginning of the game, I like to have my cleric in the front row because they can take hits a little better and can deal out damage a little better than the thief. Of course, later on they become very, very important for. Oops, I'm walking into walls here. I'm going to blame the controller for that one.
That's fine.
They become very, very important for keeping your party alive. So as I get deeper in the dungeons, I will consider swapping that position back, putting the thief in my front row because they're more expendable. Sorry, thief.
Oh, as somebody who loves playing as thief classes,
Well,
ouch.
People complain about this is that in the original Wizardry, the thief was really good at disarming traps and identifying traps, and they're not particularly good at anything else. But it's invaluable to open the chests.
Right.
The chest is where you get the best stuff in the game. So people are like, oh, it's really annoying that I have to have a thief with me just for that purpose. So we actually added an option that was an option in later versions of Wizardry for your thief and ninja characters to hide in the shadows. So you can see my thief is in the back row now, so I can select hide in the shadows. I'm going to identify these orcs here with the other party members.
Orcsises.
And I'll explain the effect if that's successful.
Oh,
They may just run. Or
Yeah.
They just run. Orcs like to run. Your run animation for the orcs is so good, Justin.
Yeah, I
I got
enjoyed
some
doing
details.
that one.
Okay, so my thief is hidden. What does hidden mean? Well, like I said at the beginning, usually only your front row can attack and only your back row can defend. And likewise, the enemies can only attack your front row, although they can cast spells and anything. So my thief is hidden, so my thief can now attack,
From the back
ambush
row.
from the back row.
Nice.
But
Effectively-
this action is risky. So hiding and attacking both have a chance of exposing you, and if my thief in the back row is exposed, then they can be targeted by the enemies.
okay.
And do they only become exposed after attacking, whether or not they're successful or not?
I think they always get exposed when attacking, and
I guess
they
that makes
might get
sense.
exposed when hiding.
Oh,
I have a couple of questions from
Yeah,
the, from
hit
the chat
us.
room.
nice.
Chance Diego wants to know, is the original equipment list intact for this? Like Lord's Garb and the Murasama Blade and things like that?
Everything that was, this is the original game, and I can't stress that enough.
Right.
Everything that was in the original game is in this game. There were some bugs with the drop tables that we have corrected. So there might be some situations where you would expect to get an item from a particular enemy and you don't, or vice versa. That's because we corrected a math error in the original code.
Okay.
To sort of group the treasures in their appropriate drop. The appropriate enemies will drop the appropriate treasures.
And did any of the names of the weapons
We
get changed?
did
Like,
have
because
to
I believe there
change
was a couple
one
of copyright,
name. Yeah, of course.
very
I mean, you
specific
probably know what we're getting
blade
at.
that's named
Yeah.
after a very specific food processor, which was a joke in the original game.
Well, you mean the Vorpal blade? Dan,
Yes,
I think.
that's obviously. I cut all of my julienne fries with a Vorpal
Yes.
slicer. Each
a
party
Vorpal
member
art.
receives 10 gold pieces. So that was my second question. Jeffrey David Burton says, will the new gold messaging match the old gold messaging, as in 11 gold per party member versus just 70 GP? It actually gives you both. It tells you how much was in the box and then how it's all split up. So yes.
Yeah, it does. And I think we did make a very slight change to the way that gold is distributed. I think I made some people mad about this, which is in the original game, it was all done with integer math. So you would get like 70 gold, and I have 6 party members, so it would subdivide the gold between the party members. And in the original Apple II version, the remainder was tossed away. And I felt like,
lost it.
well, that's not a really good experience. So we now distribute the extra gold evenly among your party members over the course of a dungeon excursion. So that might be why some people are observing that you might feel like you're getting slightly more gold than you used to. It's a difference of a couple of gold per battle at best. So
I knew we were going to get this question. I knew we were going to get this question. Are you ready?
yeah.
So did you guys fix the Identify 9 Easter egg?
Well, that's a very complicated thing to talk about.
It is, but it's not an Easter egg. It is a bug, and you looked into it and found that it was not something that could be reproduced and make the game run, right? Like you had to fix this Identify 9 bug in order to make it work.
Well, right. So, and the reason for that is, like I said, this is a port and not an emulation.
Right.
So our memory layout is different than it would have been under the Apple II and the identify 9 bug was just an out of bounds error, so it would cause unpredictable behavior that was on the Apple II because it had a very consistent memory layout, predictable, but on modern hardware that's just a crash. So that's not something we could have in the game. Like, we wouldn't pass certification for the first parties if we had a crash in the game. So no identify 9 for you, sorry guys.
But the game runs as a result, so that's a bonus.
We did add save slots so you can do sort of the equivalent of save scumming if that's something you're really into.
Right.
By the way, beautiful animated secret door.
Oh, I love the secret door.
bricks.
No, I didn't do that.
I think you should take credit for it
you
anyway.
did? Okay, sure.
Nick keeps saying he wants to be on stream and he never shows up. But
Nick,
anyway.
come on down if you're watching. Feel free.
But he did that, and
Yeah.
they look super cool.
Yeah, it
In
was
fact,
good.
I'm going to open this one just because they look so cool.
Do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that worked out well.
Even though I don't need to go in there.
It doesn't matter. It's just pretty to see the bricks go, ooh.
Yeah.
So if you're just joining us, this is Wizardry Proving Grounds in the Mad Overlord. This comes out tomorrow worldwide. If you are playing in Japan, you probably already have access to this because they're a little bit ahead of us in the time zones. But it will be rolling out over the next 24 hours or so. It should be out on all platforms that we're supporting, which is both PlayStation consoles, all the current Xbox consoles, Nintendo Switch, and PC. PC, I will tell you that there is a pre-order discount on Xbox, Switch, and sort of PC, if you look at it that way. PC has been in early access since September. So the version that's currently available for the early access, if you were to buy it right now on Steam or GOG, you get 0.4, and tomorrow you get a 1.0 upgrade. But the price will be going up tomorrow. That was actually always in the plans. If you go all the way back to the FAQ that we posted in September, it notes that, like, yeah, but, like, thank you. You get a discount and for your patience of helping us, get through the early access period and help us find bugs and suggestions and stuff like that. But you can still get that lower price if you buy it right now. Tomorrow morning, it will go up. Yeah. Actually, the Xbox and Switch retail pages, the store pages, have a little countdown for how many hours you have left to save 10%. So if you are liking what you see and you think you'd like to save a little bit of money, that's the pre-order bonus, is that you save 10%.
Right. If you like what you see and you want to pay it the 10% extra to us to
that
support,
is also
do
fine.
That. I always buy my own games just because I'm like, hey, gotta support myself.
Well,
support.
Where I will take this conversation is like, we hear a lot of requests like, are you guys going to do Wizardry 2 or 3 or 5 or whatever? And of course we can't tell you, yes, we're definitely going to be able to do that.
Oh,
but
we are?
The best way for you guys to make that likely to happen is if this game is very successful.
Yeah.
So
Right.
please, if you're on the fence, take a shot. We'd love to go on that journey with you.
Yeah.
The team would be very excited to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I paused here for a reason because we were talking about the ambient map earlier and how there are these tricks in the dungeon that kind of trip it up. So about 2 or 3 steps ahead of me is a teleporter that's going to take me to another part of the dungeon. And if you watch the ambient map and compare it to what I'm seeing on the screen, so you see, like, I walk ahead and I see this sort of T-junction, and I take a step, and now if you look behind me, where I was is no longer there. I have
It's
all
like
this
it's
new
like
stuff going
overwriting
on
the
on my
map.
map.
I hate
Right.
this
Yeah.
so much. I got lost in here for
Yeah.
3 hours taking screenshots.
And I'm like,
I hate
wait,
this so much.
I came from this direction, so I'm going to open this door and walk through it. Wait, did I just see that door in front of me
Right,
close?
but the map,
I
the
seem
ambient
to
map
be
suggests that you
walking
did
in a
go
endless
through.
corridor of some kind.
Right.
So yeah, so if you look at what the ambient map shows, it's showing you what I see, but it's not necessarily showing you what's accurate. So I'm going to go ahead and cast
And
that
this
spell.
was- yeah, and
the
this was something
Demopic
that-
spell. And casting the spell will just give you an overview of everything you've mapped on a particular floor already. So
But
this is where
in an
we've
accurate,
been.
it'll-
It's correct.
Yes.
But then you'll notice it also corrected my ambient map. And I can at any time pull up the Demopic map that was last shown to me.
Once
It
you've
no
cast it.
longer has my position on it. I would have to cast a spell to re-identify my position, but this information is available all the time. So that was sort of our compromise between, like, well, if we did full auto mapping, the game might not be all that
Right,
difficult
'cause that
any
also
longer. But
takes
if we
away
did
the-
no auto mapping, modern audiences
Yeah.
aren't going to like that at all. So we kind of tried to hit somewhere in the middle for you.
Yeah.
I'm going to go in this room and see our chicken cat
Yeah.
and get me a bronze key. And I didn't show off the bestiary. I should. So we did identifications of 2 enemies, the undead kobold and the orc. And this is their bestiary entries. This will, of course, fill out with all of the enemies you could encounter and with the information to the degree that you've identified them. There are 101 enemies in Wizardry, and we didn't know that going in, and it made it a lot of artwork to actually get this game going.
Yeah.
But here's another thing we added. If you notice, I can press A.
Well, I should point out that I think I'm running the Switch because I was using a Switch controller with this before, and I left it set to Switch icons. If you're playing with a controller, which you can play with any controller that Steam supports or the controller of your choice on your platform of choice.
Right. I think it's showing me Xbox stuff.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe it's showing the Steam Deck icons.
Maybe.
But anyway, those icons will match whatever your platform is.
So you can see the details of the enemies as you identified them. You can flip the card, and there's some lore about the enemy that you can read that's written by
Benny Murasama? Am I getting the right name? I've got to remember.
I know him as Benny-san, so I
Benny-san,
don't know his
that's
name
honestly
proper.
that's the only way we've been...
But anyway, famous Japanese wizardry guy who's
he's a novelist, and
but he wrote these entries for us for this game.
Matsuyama, my bad.
Benny
Matsuyama, yes. So yeah, Benny-san did all of the original text for all 101 stuff. It's new stuff, and he had written a lot about wizardry in the past. He's also a fantasy novelist, and he's written wizardry novels in Japan. So this was a really huge get for us to get somebody that was that deep in the wizardry lore to be able to do content for our game. So yeah, this is like when you're ready to take a break in between party wipes. This is something that you should definitely go in and see his prose about all the creatures that you're experiencing here, that you're meeting.
And you also get to see the cool idle animations without fear of getting slaughtered.
That's
yes.
The other thing I want to show from this was a recent addition, is we actually, okay, you're right, the buttons are incorrect. The treasure matrix, I pressed Y to open the treasure matrix here, and this will have a list. Again, this is just another example of us bubbling is where I'm like, bubbling up information that's available in the code that is not necessarily available to the user. So this will show you that this kobold, the undead kobold, drops a treasure type called K. Actually, any enemy has 2 treasure types. Treasure type A is a bunch of gold, and treasure type K is a bunch of gold and a chance of one of these weapons. So there's a full drop table available for every enemy. I might actually, at this point, because we sort of hit the basics, so unless you want to watch me grind up a bunch enough to get to level 2, I might actually load one of Dan's other saves.
Sure.
Just so we can look at some more bestiary entries, maybe go to some of the deeper floors.
Oh, but you did surprise the monsters, so that's always fun.
Yes.
That means that you basically roll for initiative and you win. If to put it in D&D terms, you get to go first before they get a chance to attack you. So sometimes you can do some major damage.
Yes, and one of the old school options is, in the original Wizardry, if you were surprised by monsters, they could use their full repertoire against you, including breath
Spells.
weapon attacks and spells and stuff, and it usually spelled a party wipe. So one of our options is, we just turn that off. You can turn it back on if you want. It also affects the party, so you can't do spells during a surprise round either if you have that option turned on.
Ursa remains hidden. I should also point out that there is a combat log over here on the right-hand side, and in between rounds, you can go back and look and see exactly how much damage you did, who's hitting, who's not hitting. Somebody had expressed some concern because they said they would slow down combat in the original Apple II game so they could see all that, as it was happening. But now you don't have to slow down combat. You can read it in free time whenever you want to, because every line of combat data is there for you.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Slimes.
Encounters. I don't have any info about slimes yet.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so when you first encounter the slimes, you don't even know what they look like, even though you're looking at them, and then it goes, oh, well, once you start attacking, and oh yes, oh the slime. Oh, you meant the bubbly
it's a bubbly
slime.
slime.
Yes.
Naturally.
So if this isn't clear, this is a single-player game. You are controlling 6 characters, and you can swap characters in and out. You can go into town. You can recruit new characters. That's a new feature for our edition. In fact, if you don't want to roll characters, you don't want to use the characters that have been that auto roll for you, you can go through and recruit sort of mercenaries for a fee, but at the earliest levels, a lot of people will join your party for free. So take advantage of that, especially if you just want to have a couple of people, in your back pocket
for the meat grinder.
Yeah, for the meat grinder, because there's a really good chance that all your characters are going to die. Like that is in the same way that people enjoy the difficulty of games like Super Meat Boy or Dark Souls, or Volgar the Viking for that matter. These things, that the difficulty and the intensity of this could be the last thing that I do is part of the appeal of the Wizardry series, certainly in the original version of Wizardry. So that is something that we have not softened. Somebody actually asked, "Did you put in easy mode for us olds?" And I'm like, "Well, there are some things you can do to mitigate some of the inconveniences, but no, it's still a life or death struggle every time you go down into the maze, which miraculously we have come out of."
Yes. It's
And
not for the
if
weak
you've
of heart.
never played Wizardry, one of the things that separates it from even games of its era, but a lot of modern RPGs, is that death is sort of permanent, not in the sense that you will immediately lose your character forever, although there is a circumstance where that might happen. But if your party is completely wiped out by the monsters, they are left in the maze where they met their fate. And you can go back into the maze and try to recover them with new characters. So one of the reasons for us adding the new recruitment tools is, in case you didn't have a backup party, and I recommend you have a backup party, you could maybe hire some really quickly to get back in there and try to get your guys.
Yeah, but a few of those people were free, if you noticed, and the rest of them were kind of cheap.
Another thing is we modernized the inn configuration. Used to be that you could spend an amount of money to stay at an inn and recover health slowly and recover all of your spells, but everybody just stayed at the stables, which were free, and then used their spells to heal up their party, so they didn't really spend any money on the game anyway. So we just made that a one-shot option, so I can now press the button Y here and recover all the spells and hit points for all my characters at no cost to myself. Again, this is something you can turn off in the old school options menu. Same for pooling gold. A strategy for the original game used to be like you would have one or a few mule characters that hung on your gold or your gear while you were in the dungeon. Now we just pool it to like a virtual mule character when you're in town.
Somebody pointed out this is award-winning music.
Oh,
and it is. The soundtrack that you're hearing is by Winifred Phillips. You may know her work for various other games as well. God of War is probably one of her best-known works. But she did original music for this. We're thrilled to have it in here. And she has been racking up the awards. She's won 3 awards already, and the game isn't out yet. Even better news, if you go follow Winifred Phillips on Bandcamp or any of her social media, she is giving away this soundtrack for free starting tomorrow on Bandcamp. It'll also be on Spotify, so you can stream it. Thrilled to be able to do that, and it is really high quality music. Again, a lot of people we know, some of us are tabletop gamers. I'm not going to say who. But
all of us are tabletop
Yeah, all of us. It's really all of us. But
table.
for those of you that like to have a little interesting medieval music in the background, fantasy soundtracks,
Super good.
This is a fantastic soundtrack for that.
I can't gush about it enough. She did a really fantastic job. I'm glad you brought it up. I almost blew right past it.
I'm glad that it was brought up by I'm having trouble reading the name, Bijatron. I believe it was Bijatron that brought it up. So thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, tomorrow, free download. Make sure you grab it.
So Dan,
yes,
I'm going to pick one of your saves.
Take
here.
Survive level 4.
Survive level 4 is the further save? Okay, we're going to judge how badly Dan is doing.
Oh, terrible. Remember, my job was to take screenshots.
Okay, first of all, you don't even have a full party. What's going on?
Oh,
are you recovering people?
Well, maybe you want to go back to Survive level 4 party 2. That may have actually been the complete one. I was starting to run into trouble there towards the end.
This one, you mean?
Yeah. It might be the same damn thing. Okay, there we go. There's 6 people. So kill them.
You're level 7. We're gonna level up your characters.
Yeah, this was before the last time I got my ass handed to me. I have lots of keys.
Sweet.
All right, we're gonna increase your agility. You're neglecting your agility here.
Yeah, see, this is nice because I get like a professional tune-up to my party by having the lead engineer take a look. Oh, you're wizardrying
let's get
wrong.
you some more
Dan.
vitality. You're gonna want
I
some of
have
that.
been generally putting any extra points
This
I can
guy-
into vitality.
All right, this is not your fault.
No,
got
you go
screwed
ahead.
here.
No.
Your character's level 7 and he has 15 hit
I
points.
know.
Your
That's why
rolls
he's in
are
the back
so
row.
bad.
That's insane. You're right.
That is
I blame
a
the-
statistical unlikelihood. and
I
if we
blame
get
the
another level
programmers
for this,
really
man.
for that
We
one.
should get
I've
another
got a.
Amazing.
All right, let me pull up the status here and see what we're dealing with. Okay, we got a fighter. Oops. Fighter, bishop in your front row. That's interesting. Priest, mage, and thief. So I'm gonna put your thief in the front row.
Sweet.
And that's fine. We're gonna look at your bestiary, see how you were doing on it. Wow, you did a pretty good job. Look at all these enemies.
Yes, I mean, I
Right.
tried to, when I saw interesting people, I tried to run from them. So yeah, I actually did get to see a lot of cool creatures. And Justin, these idle animations and the combat animations,
Yeah.
this is your contribution to the game, yes?
Yeah, I just did idle. No, yes, I did. I was leading, directing, organizing, managing, animating all of the animation throughout the game. Yes, it's cool that we get to see a little bit of that stuff up close and personal in the bestiary.
So I pulled up another treasure table here, and I just wanted to point out, because this is a later enemy, the drops that appear in the treasure table will only show up if you've actually found at least one of those items. So all of these show up because they're the basic items in the first category here, but you've only found chainmail +1 from treasure type M.
Yeah, and I was really grateful to
There's like
find that, frankly.
16 other items that you can find, or 15
I
other.
can't believe your dude has 15 hit points.
I'm
It's
sorry.
gonna
Well,
make this so hard.
There's always somebody who, well, you'll notice that he was dead on the other party, and that's why.
Maybe should have left him there. No.
Yeah. I have a couple of questions here and there.
Everything but the ribbon. Okay.
There we go. Okay. I had gotten lost in the chat and started answering questions I had already answered.
Sweet.
So that's brilliant. Is there a list of patch notes for the 1.0 update? There will be, but honestly, for PC players who are currently using the early access version of 0.4.1, going to 1.0, a lot of it is small creature comforts, almost invisible bug fixes. Yeah, like it's really the core experience that you're seeing now in early access in 0.4 is very, very close to what you'll see tomorrow.
You want to play
that's
it
true.
in your native language?
That is true. We do have support for eFigs J, as they say in the industry: English, French, German, Italian, Spanish, and Japanese.
Might be a problem.
Huh?
Yeah.
It's fine. We're going for it.
Oh.
This might
This might be a problem. 8 ogres with my meager party.
It's fine. Everything
just offer them Kel and then run.
we will give you our spellcaster if you promise not to eat our face.
Yes.
So yes, if you were curious, we really sweat the details. No, Wizardry, very important to Japanese gaming and inspired many games that you have played. Wizardry has been cited as a direct inspiration for things like Dragon Quest and Final Fantasy. So we know that Japanese Wizardry players are really, really interested in what we've been up to here. We wanted to make sure that the localization, the text is correct, reads smoothly. We're very proud of that. We've had help from 8.4, making sure that it works for those international locales. So if you are looking forward to, hey, would you like to learn how to read Japanese and do it through a fun thing in Wizardry? Toggle it back and forth. That's all I can tell you. So yeah, that is something that's going to be in 1.0 that is not currently in the PC version, but will be there, of course, on all the console versions as well.
I can actually showcase. I mean, to the extent that I can, because I can't actually read Japanese. Hang on, let me.
Oh yeah, you can go in there
disarm
and
this treasure chest. But there's an interesting aspect to the Japanese localization in particular, which is
Ooh, Luna receives a potion and everybody else gets 38 gold apiece.
if I go to the options and I set the language to like Japanese, let's see if I can pick out where that other option is. There are 2 versions of Japanese you can choose from. I don't think I can read it. I actually
Really?
don't know
How?
I don't know how to pick it. Is it in the old school options?
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So
Is it simplified characters?
no,
or?
there's actually, because the Japanese audience is accustomed to kind of 2 different localizations of this game,
Okay.
and we have both versions in the game.
Oh wow. All right.
So there should be a way to select it once you have Japanese selected, but I'm
But
failing to
since none of
showcase
us
this,
read
yeah.
it and Chris Kohler is in the other room, we're not going to be able to figure it out.
But anyway, you have that to look forward to.
And you know that if you're playing, if your system is set to a non-English language, whatever your default language
an
is,
old
if it's
school
supported by this game, it will show up.
This is the test here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
Metroid wins with the understatement of the day. Oh boy, that's a lot of ogres. It sure was.
Yeah, and there can be more.
There can be more. We've got about we're going to stream for another 15 minutes.
It is probably one of these
It's
options.
probably one of these. Needless to say, this is not an emulation. This was a port of the original Pascal code over to C, so it runs under as a layer, like sort of within Unreal Engine. But the dice rolls, the combat, the XP, all of the math is still being driven by the original code. Oh, hot damn, we got us some dragons. This will be a great way to kill my
excitement,
party.
yeah.
They're
Thank
just
you.
gas dragons, though, so
Just?
they're the least of the dragons in this, even though the dragon puppies are smaller.
Right.
But they're a higher level, something. I don't know. These guys were fun to animate.
Small but fierce. Yeah?
Yeah.
So you had told me once that when you were approaching each of these 101 characters, some of which are non-human, like the creeping coins
Yes.
and stuff like that, you tried to put yourself, you did like a little method acting. You tried to put yourself in the place of, if I
Sure.
were that
The
creature.
mindset, yeah, it was maybe a little easier to put myself in the mindset of a dragon than it is of the creeping coins. But
Right.
again, if I was a coin, how would I call for help? I guess. But yeah, no, it was fun writing out, getting the descriptions for all the actions, and trying to figure out how to give each of the characters and enemies like a little bit of personality. Trying to make everything a little bit unique, so we're not doing the exact same attack motions every time.
Sure.
Yeah.
I do have a good question. If Metroid wants to know, if you were to give one piece of wizardry advice that would be the most important to a new player, like Metroid, what would that be?
Don't give up.
That is really, honestly, a great piece of advice because
Like, expect to die and be okay with it.
I will say that one of the early reviews that I've seen on Steam was somebody who played for half an hour. They got angry. They said, "This game sucks. I party wiped after 30 minutes. I had no way to get back in," and they gave it a negative review. And I felt that was so unfair. I know I'm biased for the game, but I felt like that was so unfair because part of wizardry experience is you're gonna get your ass handed to you. And don't give up. And,
Right.
and be willing to go back in. And once I pushed beyond, because I had several party wipes before I even got to a place where I felt like I could move forward. It felt so rewarding to do so. I will say that Ian's advice to me when I started playing was create a backup party before you need a backup party, so that if your first party dies in the maze, their corpses will be where you left them. So you will want to remember where that is, and hopefully you're using maps, Dumapic or Dumapic, or however you say it. Or if you have the original graph paper maps that you kept when you were an Apple II gamer all those years ago in the early 80s, they will work.
Yeah.
Or publicly available maps will also work.
Yes.
But build up a second party,
Rescue party.
a rescue party, because you will probably need it. And the save we're playing with right now, I'm gonna say, I didn't make a rescue party, so if this one goes down, I'm starting all
That's
over
right.
with 1.0, which is fine.
Yes.
I'm okay with that.
Also, just wouldn't save, maybe? I don't know.
No, yeah, we're not going to just pull the
Alright.
power. But
But then the other thing with making the rescue party, now correct
Yeah.
me if I'm wrong, if you lose 2 characters and you run back out, when you go back in to rescue them, you need to make sure you have 2 empty spaces to pick them up. Correct?
That was the case
Okay.
in the original game. We've streamlined that a little bit too.
Oh, that's nice.
So now, from your camp menu at any time, you can leave your party in the dungeon at will,
Okay.
or swap characters with characters that are in the dungeon.
Okay,
So
so
we
you
made
can,
that a little bit easier.
so you can run back in with a full party with 6 characters, and you could say,
but
hey,
you do have to leave somebody
you
behind.
could say, Kel, you're gonna be the tribute for the maze. We're gonna pick up our other dead body because the dead body is more functional.
My advice would be that because this game is from a different era, you're gonna need to overlevel a little bit at the very beginning of the game. It's very tempting because at the start of the game, you enter the dungeon and you're like 20 steps from the second floor. Do not go to the second floor.
Yeah.
We actually have a pop-up that says, "Hey, you're probably not ready to do this yet."
I appreciated that.
But the difference in difficulty from floor 1 to floor 2, and that is true for all floor progression, it's a very, very big jump.
Jump.
And again, that goes back to this being one of the original games
Yeah.
in this genre, one of the actual pioneers. Nobody knew. They were just like, this seems fun. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do that. And they're trying things. And now, 30 years later, 40 years later, whatever, the edges have been smoothed out on the genre, and there are different expectations.
Right, a lot of
Yeah.
lessons have been learned from this base point of this game.
Yeah. So you will find that it's incredibly brutal in a way that maybe you didn't expect or feel is fair, and that is correct. It is unfair.
Yeah, it is the year 2024,
Can be.
but this game is not a 2024 like design mentality game. It's an old school game.
1941 design.
1941 game. It's amazing.
I have somebody who's asking. They're playing this game on a quad wide PC monitor, like
Oh
a
my gosh.
super. Now, I made sure to get
I
some
actually
20.
don't know what that's going to do. I hope it works well for you.
He's saying that the health bars are cut off, and is there any way to mitigate? I'm like, honestly, we did not test it on a monitor that wide. I happen to be a 21:9 fan. So I made sure to get some screenshots, and I remember saying one day, I was like, by the way, I got some screenshots today at home on my 21:9. It looks really good. And Ian went, oh, that's good to know. So I'm sorry to say that is not a case that we have tested for.
We're a small studio. Sorry, PC players, we do not have a PC lab.
Yeah,
where
we
we can
don't.
test all hardware configurations. We did the best we could.
Yeah. So unfortunately, you're in uncharted territory. Duly noted, and we'll put it on the list
Yeah,
of bugs
we're
that
making a
if we
list
can,
of things that if
figure
we
out how
can
to
address,
adjust it.
we do address.
Buy
But,
the game, and that'll help.
Yeah. He says thanks for the candor. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't know if people realize Digital Eclipse is in the best way a small studio. We can remain agile, but we don't necessarily have some of the resources you might expect from an enormous studio, or the same sort of hardware even. How many people are here? Maybe 24?
1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Like if you count on site, it's less than that. So maybe
Yeah.
30 total at the company.
Yeah. We are very busy as that group of small, that small group of people, and very dedicated. We also have a lot of projects in the works that have not yet been announced that we are looking forward
projects.
to those announcements. But you'll hear about them later this year, maybe some next year. There's a lot of plates spinning, if you will, in the background beyond what we've been doing recently with the making of Karateka and this Wizardry port and the Lamasoft, the Jeff Minter story, and even Atari 50 from last year. We've always got something else coming, and that does mean that to a certain extent it's like, okay, we want to bite off more than we can chew, but yeah.
We always do.
We want to hear if you see things that are not working right on your system. We do want to know about that, and we do appreciate that. And part of the reason that's why we did early access a little bit was so that we could get, hey, you've probably got stuff that we don't have. You're going to play this game in a way that might not have occurred to us. What's your experience? What can we learn from you guys playing it?
Right.
I did want to. I'm going to jump back a topic.
Sure.
To give a final thought on the advice for going into this game for
Yes,
a new
please.
player is just that. I mean, Justin was trying to set expectations, and Justin's point was it's very difficult. You're going to die. Don't worry about it. But like, I'm going to reiterate that. But the way I would phrase it is like, this is a game about patience and managing your resources and your risk. So you're going to be very tempted to overextend, and you may be punished for it. So just going in, know that that's the game you're playing.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I had to learn that because again, I played D&D. I've played other RPGs. I've played old PC and 16-bit RPGs from the late '80s, but I had never played the original Wizardry. We're dead, aren't we?
It's
no,
not a
sorry.
guarantee. We've
We're
got a
not
surprise
dead.
round.
My party is dead.
And the
See if I can take out the dragonflies in one round.
But even still, I mean, to Ian's point, like Ian's being risky by going down to the fourth floor,
Yes.
but then also you were literally just going back and forth between that first square and back to the exit.
Yes.
Yeah, so
of
you
this
can
first
cheese it.
floor. So, I mean, if things go south, Ian hasn't strayed, miles from the
Right.
the elevator back up, down, up, back up to the surface.
Yeah. And I want to point out the lower right, you can toggle that on and off or even full screen, but in the lower right you're going to see that white wireframe of the original Apple II interface that is the Apple II code, the Pascal code, having been ported over to run in Unreal.
Yeah.
So what you are seeing there is an accurate representation of the original code, even though we have this nice new visual interface for it. You are still seeing the messages and the math and the rolls and the original character artwork, that adorable little dragon.
Yeah.
All that stuff is legit. That is not an emulator running parallel. That is actually the same data. Wow. All right. Well, I can't believe you got two.
That was kind of funny.
I would give you the credit, but they're my characters. So.
One conscious dragonfly. I think I got to take out the dragonflies.
Yeah, I feel like they're.
Gosh.
And again,
oddly-
you can turn off, you can toggle that off, or you can toggle it full screen if you want to watch the original Apple II interface full screen. You can do that as an overlay as well.
I mean, Kel is your problem guy here because he just can't
Look,
take
Kel
any
is
hit.
useless. Yeah, Kel is basically
It's like there for like moral support.
walking meat snacks for these dragons.
Oh, that was kind of fun. It's like he was like the squire, he's like the torchbearer, who's like, guys, can I go with you? Can I go on an adventure?
No, it's too dangerous. No, let him go.
Yeah.
All right, but if he dies, it's on you.
Bai
that's
is like, this is the only way he's gonna learn.
right. Oh.
I think we made it.
Oh my goodness! Oh, I can't believe it! And that's definitely when you're done with this, we are going to stop the stream because I want to pick this up where you left off and then kill them myself. And
nice.
you learned something new about the Dragonfly. Again, our new inspect system lets you figure out what the AC is, what their HP is, and eventually which attacks you shouldn't try against them because they have resistances against them that would be less effective. All right. And you got an unidentified dagger, the asterisks around
Probably
it.
going to be a vanilla dagger, but we'll take a look.
It doesn't matter. We love it.
Yeah, it looks like a vanilla dagger. Once again.
How did you know it's a vanilla dagger? Just
because I know the drop tables pretty well.
okay, fair
And
enough. There we go.
also,
Ian has basically memorized the math because he had to look at it so much.
here's a secret pro tip. Our art for unidentified items is just a grayed out version of the art for the identified item. So if you know the art for the item, you can pick it out.
There we
Oh.
go. Good to know.
That is a good pro tip.
Good to know.
We do have a new armor here. What's this? Breastplate is your cleric
Should keep everything to count. Oh no.
wearing a breastplate. This is
Again, one more plug for Winifred Phillips' soundtrack, which you're...
this is maybe my favorite song. This or the Bestiary.
Yeah.
She doesn't break that.
The bishop's wearing leather armor. so you should.
Whenever
he
we
can wear the breastplate.
Whenever we stop talking a mile a minute, you can hear some of Winifred's wonderful music. And again, this will be a free download tomorrow from her Bandcamp page.
Awesome.
If you go to any of our socials, if you go to our Twitter, actually, she's been very active over on Twitter, and we've been retweeting each other and letting people know about that offer. So make sure you do grab it. It is really, really good, and it's something like it's more than a half an hour of music, isn't it? Like it's quite a lot.
It's a lot, yeah.
Yeah.
So are we stopping here?
I think we need
Should
to
I get you
stop
back
here
to
because yeah. Would you
I
mind
can
going back
try.
to town? See if
We're gonna have one more encounter here.
okay. Yeah. Oh wow, you're good. 6 canines and just one were rat.
This is not bad. We're okay.
You haven't encountered
the
these
canines are gonna
before.
run.
Probably.
Oh, coyotes.
Yes.
All right. So once again, this is Wizardry Proving Grounds of the Mad Overlord. This comes out tomorrow. I
Yes.
don't have the exact times when it will
It's
roll
gonna
out.
vary depending on where you are.
Yeah, where you are, and also what platform you're on, because different platforms update their retail stores at different times.
These are gonna be some big
Those
XP.
are some burnt doggies.
That's gonna make him run away.
I expect that everything should probably be live, worst case, noon Pacific tomorrow. More likely a few hours before that. And if you are playing in Japan, or if you currently, if you play Japanese games directly from the source, I believe the game has launched in Japan. So what you're seeing is the 1.0 version that would be available to all players in all locales tomorrow, but will start going online depending on where you live in the country as the day goes on. So if you have any other questions about this, our Steam forums are very active. We keep stuff. Begone, strangers. We try to answer everybody on our socials. We are Digital Eclipse on Twitter. We are Digital Eclipse Studios on Facebook and Instagram. We're on Blue Sky. We're on Mastodon. We are trying to meet you wherever you are, even Threads. So keep an eye out on those. We'll give you updates as we know them. We'll let you know when it's available. But this was our first early access game, and it was not. I will tell you that it was not planned to be an early access all the way through development. It came up partway through development, and we thought, okay, can we do it? And if we can do it, what does it look like? What do we need to adjust? But I gotta say that the feedback that we got from players was so positive. Sometimes dealing with pretty major bugs, but you guys did an amazing job helping document those issues, making them things that the team could track down, find, squash, being able to document what you were doing, what worked for you, what didn't work for you, what you wanted to see, what you didn't like seeing. All of that stuff was super, super helpful and got us to this 1.0. I believe that the 1.0 is better for all of your involvement in it. So thank you for proving the value that early access is sometimes worth it. We only spent 9 months in early access. I like to think that that is on the shorter side for a lot of early access games. And I know a lot of people didn't want to buy it because they didn't want to buy an unfinished game. I totally understand that. I'm telling you now that the next couple of hours is the last time you'll be able to get it for $29.99 on PC, because it's going to go up to $34.99 tomorrow on PC. But basically, you're getting one patch in between now and then, and your saves will not break. So if you were on the fence, go do it now. Likewise, there's a 10% discount on Switch and Xbox. PlayStation will also be on sale tomorrow, but there is no pre-order bonus. I don't know why. You can only wish list it, but it'll remind you if that's what you want. So yeah, we're super proud of this. Thank you for being with us on this journey. It was a weird journey for us. It was the first time we did it. We learned a lot. Hopefully you learned a lot about game dev along the way. And hopefully, you like what you see and you'll enjoy getting destroyed in Wordna's Labyrinth, because that's if you're dying, you're playing Wizardry right. No.
Getting revenge for having been destroyed.
Right, yeah. I mean, honestly, I am amazed that we made it through this hour-long stream and none of my characters died. I
was
really
pushing it
cannot.
too.
Yeah, you were trying to make it happen, and for comedy value, I respect that. Knowing now what I know, I'll probably go back and start a fresh party anyway. But anyway.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank you, Ian Sherman, lead engineer on the project, Justin Arquet, lead animator on the project, and I'm Dan Amrick. I'm just one of the other guys that's here at Digital Eclipse. And from all of us, thank you so much for your support and for tuning in. And go enjoy the dungeons without us. Bye, y'all.
Yeah. Later.